Hi guys, this is Maha, your English language teacher and IELTS trainer on the English of Canada Facebook page and the YouTube channel, of course. And as promised, I am on time, 2 minutes late, but that's okay, it happens, with the most awaited person on this platform, Teacher Paul. Hi Paul, how's it going?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me join you.
Perfect. No, we're totally honored to have you here because I've been telling my students and everybody who watches this, the live shows over here that you're going to be joining us on Tuesday. So they're all looking forward to having you here. Now, I know everyone's going to be a little surprised that, okay, they don't see my face anymore, but they can definitely hear me. And I want to make sure that Paul has that platform today where it's only him that you see and not me for a change. So, how's the weather in Vancouver?
Well, until recently, the last few days have been really sunny, really hot, just beautiful. The summer here is actually stunning. The sky is bright blue, and the humidity is very low, so it's very dry. However, today is a little bit cloudy, so it's not too bad. But summer here is the best time of year. The rest of the year it rains.
Wow.
I grew up in Toronto, so I recall summer in Toronto being very humid and always sweating and 5 showers a day or something. It was ridiculous. So
Right.
I love Toronto, but the summer here is actually very nice.
I'm not a big fan of the Toronto summers, to be very honest, because
It's quite uncomfortable.
it's terrible. I grew up in Dubai, and the humidity in Dubai is crazy.
Yeah.
It's the same in Toronto. It's not any better. So I've not been enjoying the summers here at all. I'm waiting for the snow, the rain, the tornadoes, the sand, the snowstorms, the blizzards, and all that comes with the cold weather.
Yeah. I love Toronto, and I visit my family there often. But I do recall the summers being very uncomfortable. And when I explain to people from other countries about Canada, and I tell them about summer in Toronto, they can't believe it because they think of us, Canada, as being a snowy country. So they can't imagine tropical heat in Toronto, but it comes.
Yes, it does. I lived in Calgary 20 years ago for a couple of years, and it was pretty hot there too.
Calgary? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I think I've only ever driven through there quickly.
Okay.
I've been to Edmonton,
Okay.
which wasn't very exciting, but I was there in the winter, so I got a taste of prairie winter.
Okay. Yeah, I remember back in the day, like 20 years ago, when I was there, the houses didn't have air conditioning for some reason. They only had the fans. So obviously that meant that dry heat just really got to you, and you just felt like it's just you're out of breath all the time.
Yeah.
So gasping for air.
When I first moved to Vancouver, it was 1993. I remember, 1991. I recall my first impression of the summer was it was very, very pleasant. And everyone told me, oh, your apartment doesn't need an air conditioner, like in Toronto.
Right.
However, in the 27 years or whatever, it's gotten warmer here. So summers here are actually very uncomfortable inside. And people's buildings still don't have a lot of air conditioning. So sometimes in office buildings or schools, it can be very uncomfortable. So I think they're starting to catch up and put in air conditioning. But my apartment, we get all day sunshine into the window, and it gets very hot in here. So we keep all the blinds shuttered and dark just to stay cool.
Wow.
I see some comments arriving.
Yes. So I've got Hussein Apivi. He's been waiting since yesterday, and I'm sure he has a list of questions that he's been preparing for a week. And I have a problem with grammar, to be very honest.
That's okay.
I know grammar is important. I know we need to learn it, but I'm sorry, when I was going to school, nobody taught me grammar.
It's one of the things, right? I mean, I know so many teachers and so many native speakers who don't really understand the grammar, even if they use it perfectly.
Right.
They may not have a grasp of it structurally.
Exactly.
And I'm not a teacher. I teach all sorts of things, and I I like grammar, and it's just one part of the puzzle, right? Grammar is useless if you don't speak, if you can't communicate, or if you say something that you don't mean. There's no point. But I do believe at a certain level, usually like intermediate or advanced level, students can really benefit from, and teachers, by consciously looking at grammar once they have some fluency. It's a way of kind of tuning up their proficiency. So I'm not some, grammar authoritarian or anything like that, but I do see its value, particularly once they have some proficiency already. I remember when I became a teacher, I was always good with language. I was always a reader and a writer, but I couldn't really explain grammar. So I did my studies and really found that I liked it. We've got some more faces, more names popping up.
Yes. I am waiting for them to actually join the studio. I don't see them yet. So a lot of them are coming in from the YouTube as well. I've got Farouk. Farouk is an amazing person. I had a very long discussion with him last night on the political situation in Pakistan, and that's something else that I do as well. Then we've got Heather Ali. He says grammar is important for speaking. That's a question he's asking you.
That's a great question. I think the answer is quite simple. Yes. I think all of these pieces work together. Reading, for example, a lot of young people I've met don't like reading, but reading actually helps your speaking. So if you just want to learn how to speak, reading is still important because it gives you a chance to see sentences that you can say. So I think grammar is important for speaking, but speaking is also important for speaking. It all works together. And I think that's the best approach to learning a language, is developing your reading, developing your writing, developing your grammar knowledge, developing your speaking fluency and comfort. It all works together.
That's correct. That's correct. And I am so glad, again, to have you here, Paul, because, they ask me grammar questions. I'm like, you know what? Sorry, I'm not going to do grammar online at all. I'm only going to work on your fluency. So I've got Hussein Abidi here. He's going to come into the classroom and I'm going to walk away. I will be behind the screen. So I'm monitoring anybody who's coming in will be obviously put up. So introducing Hussein to you.
Lovely. Hi, Hussein.
Hi, sir. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. I am Hussein and I am a student and I'm doing BS Biochemistry from Hafiz University in Pakistan.
Very nice.
And I am taking classes from Ma'am Maha from previous 2 months. So she told me about you and this wonderful session about grammar. So I'm here about it.
Great. Well, I've also heard you have lots of great questions, so we will get to those.
Inshallah, hope so.
Thank you. It looks like we have enough people here, so I think what I'd like to do is briefly introduce myself, and then we'll start with the questions.
Okay, sir.
So my name is Teacher Paul. My real name is Paul Duke. I'm an English teacher. I'm an English teacher in Vancouver, Canada. Vancouver is on the west coast of Canada. I've been teaching for about 10 years. And you'll notice I'm sometimes called a grammar detective or a language detective. It's kind of a joke because before I was a teacher, I was actually a private investigator, I was a private detective. So it's a very different job. So I still like to play with that.
I have watched your videos on your YouTube.
Okay, great. Yeah, we have a lot of fun playing. It's kind of a way of making a joke about me and my previous job. But I became a teacher and I've loved it ever since. One of the things I love most about it is working with young people, helping them succeed in their dreams and their goals, and helping them not be afraid of English. English is a strange language with a lot of irregularity and broken rules and contradictions. So it can be very mysterious and very confusing. So what I like most about teaching English is helping students become more familiar and more understanding of English, so it's not so mysterious. So we're still like solving crimes. We're still solving a mystery, the mystery of English.
Yes, sir.
I went to school at UBC, University of British Columbia, here in Vancouver, but I also went to school and university in Japan. So my experience there was similar to my students who come to Canada to study English. I went to university in Japan, so I know what it's like. I know how challenging it is. But the other thing I love most about teaching is meeting students from all different cultures. Growing up in Canada, all of my friends were from different cultures, and we learned from our friends' families. We learned about their previous culture and how Canada is a mix of cultures, and it's what I like most about Canada. So I'm very happy to be here with you because most of my students in Vancouver.
Pleasure.
Great. Now, as we get started, I'm going to constantly come back to a couple of very important ideas.
Yes, sir.
So I want to explain something very shortly, very briefly, that will help all of you understand English grammar a little better. So I want to look at the triangle. Can you all see this triangle?
Yes, sir.
So I want you to understand this so that we can always come back to it, because it's very important.
Sir, we can't see the right corner of this triangle from use and right side. Yes, now it's a little bit visible.
Okay, so this one, it says form. So when we look at language, I want you to look at it in 3 dimensions.
Yes, sir.
Okay, language is built, communication is built from form. Form is grammar, it's rules, it's structures.
Yes, sir.
Right? And it's like the rules of a game. When you play soccer, we have certain rules.
Yes,
right? When we play basketball, we have different rules.
Yes, sir.
Right? I can't play soccer with basketball rules. You'll be confused. So we need to have a set of rules and structure or form that our language works from. However, that by itself is useless. We also need to understand the meaning. We need to understand the meaning of an expression, right?
Yes, sir.
The idea behind it, the idea you're trying to communicate. But we also need to know how to use it.
Yes, sir.
Right? We need to know, how do we use that structure? How do we use that meaning? How do we use the structure to make the meaning? So these 3 ideas, they work together. Okay? So when you have questions for me, sometimes I'm going to say, well, for example, somebody might ask me, what's the difference between rise and raise? 2 different verbs. Well, they seem to like mean the same thing. The meaning is the same. However, the form is different. So the meaning is something goes up. So the 2 words share the meaning. Rise, raise. However, the forms are different. Okay?
Yes.
So when we talk about language questions, sometimes the question is answered by the meaning. Sometimes it's about how we use it. And sometimes it's about a rule.
Rules.
It's not one thing. So we have to look at our language in 3 dimensions. Today, we'll focus on grammar questions or form questions, but they're not alone. Grammar is never alone. It works to express meaning. And there's a way to use it to express this meaning. So I'm going to constantly come back to this. When you ask me questions, I'm going to come back. So let me just move this down. And I'll put it, somehow my marker doesn't work. I'll put it down here. we have form on top, meaning, and use. Okay. So, Hussein, do you have a question we can start with?
Mine?
Yes. What's your first question for me?
Sir, my question is basically an idea. For example, when we have to use some ideas for reasons, we use owing to in the beginning of sentence, not due to. But when you have to give some reason in the middle of sentence, we say due to. So I need this type of rules. For example, most of people say owing to lack of confidence, I can't speak English. I can't speak English due to lack of confidence. So these type of questions, these type of phrasal verbs, I think it would be in a form question, not meaning or not utilization. So I need this type of question that I don't listen or sounds to be an awkward to a native speaker.
Okay.
So these are some technical points which are supposed to know by a person when he is speaking. His fluency will maintain by this.
So what is that? What is the question here? We have two different expressions, owing to or due to.
And due to. Due to.
And in that case, we have, what's going on here? In that case, we have two expressions
Yes, sir.
that have the same meaning, right?
Have the same meaning. Yes,
The
sir.
meaning is
Both
the
have
same.
same meaning.
But
Yes, sir.
when we look at their form, we have to wonder, what is their form? Are they nouns? Are they verbs? Are they adverbs? Are they adjectives? Because maybe they have the same meaning, but they have two different forms.
Yes, sir.
Let's find out. Shall we look at an example?
Yes, sir.
What if I said something like, I don't know if you can see this.
Yes, now.
Owing to the rain, I brought my umbrella. Right? Owing
Yes,
to the
sir.
rain, I brought my
I
umbrella.
brought umbrella.
Okay? And
Yes, sir.
I brought my umbrella
Due to rain.
due to the rain.
Due to the rain. Okay.
Okay. Do they mean the same thing? Do you think? Is the meaning the same?
Yes, I do. It's same meaning.
I agree. I think the meaning is the same.
Is
Now
the same. Yes, sir.
let's consider the form. What form
Yes,
are
sir.
these expressions? Well, they're both adverbs. Adverbs can be
Yes.
one word, like quickly, but adverbs can also
Yes.
be an entire phrase or clause. They can be a full sentence. If
Yes, sir.
they're giving us information about the verb, which they are here. So for example, let's test it. I brought my umbrella. What question do you have? I brought my umbrella, Hussein. What question would you have?
I brought my umbrella.
Yeah, if you say that, Teacher Paul,
Yes,
I
sir.
brought my umbrella, my next question is why? Right?
Yes.
That's my
Yes.
next question. If you just tell me I brought my umbrella, there's no reason here.
Yes. Doesn't making any sense.
No, there's no reason for brought. Brought
Yes,
is
sir.
verb. So we want information about why you did this action, why you
Yes.
did that action. That means we need an adverb.
Yes.
Owing to the rain is an adverb expression. It tells us why you brought your umbrella. So now we know
Yes.
the form. The form is adverb or adverbial phrase. And
Yes, sir.
we know that adverbs can move around. They
Yes.
should be close to the verb because they're modifying the verb, but they can also
Yes.
be at the beginning, right? With
And
the,
in the
they
in
can also
middle.
be, yeah, and they can also be at the end,
Yes, sir.
right? I can say, yesterday I brought my umbrella. I brought my umbrella yesterday. They can move. And you're
Yes.
right. they can also be in the middle, close to the verb, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So they can move. Let's look at the second sentence. I brought my umbrella. Why? Due to the rain.
Umbrella. Due to the rain. Yes, sir.
Yeah, due to the rain. So the meaning is the same. It's giving us the
Meaning-
reason,
Yes, sir.
right? So what's the form? Well, here it's an adverb as well. It's telling
Yes,
us
sir.
why you brought it.
Modifying the verb.
Yeah, which means it can move.
Yes, sir.
We can also put this adverb at the beginning. Due to the rain,
Yes, sir.
comma, I brought my umbrella.
I brought my umbrella.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You could even put it after the subject. You could put it here. I, due to the rain, with two
Brought my
commas.
umbrella.
Now that's a little awkward. I,
Yes.
due to the rain, brought my umbrella. It's a little strange.
Yes, sir.
It doesn't move smoothly, but it's possible.
Yes, sir.
So in this case, we have learned that the meaning is the same
Meaning is the same.
and the form is the same.
Yes, sir.
And the way we use it in the sentence is the same too. It can be at the end, it can be at the beginning. This can be at the end too. I brought my umbrella owing to the rain.
Yes, sir.
So we see an example here of two expressions that are very similar.
Yes, sir.
But I have an idea. I think a lot of students hear about synonyms. They hear that synonyms means two words with the same meaning.
Yes, sir.
But I actually believe that all of them have a little bit different meaning. So,
Yes, sir.
because otherwise, why do we have two different words? There's always a little
Yes.
bit different meaning. And it's the same
Yes,
with
sir.
expressions like this. So they seem to have the same meaning. They seem to have the same form. We use them the same way. So they're basically, according to our triangle, they're identical.
Yes, sir.
But maybe they're not. Maybe there's one difference. In this case, I think the difference can be just poetic, how it sounds, right?
Yes, sir.
The form is the same, the meaning's the same, the use is the same. Our next question would be, so what's different?
Yes,
Well,
sir.
the difference is the sound. So as you get
Okay.
better at English, sometimes we make a choice of what sounds nicer.
Yes,
So
sir.
this one has a big O sound, owing, owing.
Owing. Owing.
It has a do, ooh sound. Very different
Yes,
sound.
sir.
So
Yes, sir.
maybe you choose them based on what else is in the sentence and how it sounds poetically. Which one sounds more beautiful?
Yes,
So
sir.
sometimes an advanced speaker of a language, their grammar is perfect, their meaning is perfect, their use is perfect. So then the next level is their language beautiful? Can they use the language beautifully? Maybe in your language you can speak it beautifully. You're a poet or a singer.
Yes, sir.
You know, great writers try to make a sentence, not just good grammar, they
Yes,
try
sir.
to make it beautiful so people will remember it. So this is how I think we can investigate grammar. Look at the example,
Yes.
see what's happening in the form, and then we can
Yes.
understand differences, confusions, and that kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
Do you have other questions? Or does someone else want to ask a question?
If someone has, so ma'am could
No,
add.
right now we don't have any more questions. We just have comments saying great show. And then somebody wants to join, but he's not clicked on the link. Then there's another person who's joined in, Shehzad Mahmood. I don't see your picture, so I won't be able to bring you online. Only because you know the format of the show. You need to show your face. I can't.
Okay, sir, I have an
Yeah.
other question.
Go ahead, Hussein. Go ahead.
Sir, most of people, when ask them question, I would say your answer will be similar as previous one. For example, if you ask me a question and I have to say yes or no, and I say yes, but if I say affirmative, so what is it grammatically correct to say affirmative? It might sound be awkward. if someone asked me, do you have brought your umbrella with you? And I said, yes, affirmative.
It sounds very strange, and I'll tell you why. The
Affirmative.
meaning is the same.
Yes, sir.
The meaning is the same. The form is the same. But here the use is different. And I'll tell you why. Yes,
Why?
you know what these mean. They mean affirmative or yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes is a nice short word, right?
Yes, sir.
So if I ask you, do you like chicken? And you say yes. Now I have my answer very quickly. Affirmative has a very particular use.
Like what?
It's developed from military or police communication systems. So
Okay.
military and police, they use the radio.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
And
Yes.
when you use a radio, especially in a war or battle or loud noises, you need to hear it very clearly. And if you just say, yes, yes, it can sound sometimes like a strange noise. Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
It's not clear. So to
Yes,
be
sir.
very clear in military or police, they have to be very clear. They have ways of making words that will sound very clear on the radio.
Yes, sir.
So, for example, when on the radio in the military and they say, Hussein, I want you to travel over the hill.
Okay.
And they want to know if you understand. Well, you can say yes, but it might sound like shush, shush, shush. It might not be clear. So they'll say,
Yes, sir.
do you understand? And you'll say, not yes, but you'll say, Roger that, or copy that. Means
Yes, sir.
you understand and you've heard it clearly. So these are conventional uses. These are ways of
Yes,
using
sir.
it in specific societies, military
Yes.
society, police society. They have special expressions, and their
Okay.
expressions, like affirmative, are for use on the radio. Because especially in the old days, radios were very weak, right?
Yes, sir.
So they needed special language that sounds clear on the radio. They don't use
Yes.
normal conversation. So if you're talking to your friends, Hussein, and he says, Hussein, let's go for dinner, and you say affirmative, it sounds very
Yes, sir.
funny. It sounds like a joke.
Yes. I have actually I was watching a movie. You might have watched that movie, Money Heist. So in that, as you were talking about the military, he was also a security guard, and that person asked him that, "Are you a security person here?" And he said affirmative, and
Yeah.
that was a little bit awkward. So that's why I asked you.
That's why.
And ma'am, our previous question inclined to and inclined toward.
Okay, let's talk about that.
We are talking about on this topic in our consecutive previous two conversations.
Great
So
question.
one day ma'am gave me homework about to figure out this inclined to and inclined word, and I searched it, and then we thought to ask this from you.
Lovely. Great question. By the way, what's the opposite of affirmative? Do you know the opposite?
Of affirmative? No.
Negative.
To be honest.
It means negative.
Okay.
And the other reason for that, by the way, is when you use radios, you press the radio, and sometimes there's a delay. It takes time for the radio to reach your partner. So if you just say yes, it's so fast, maybe it doesn't reach them. But affirmative is a long word. Negative is a long word, so the radio can catch up.
Yes.
But we don't normally use these in regular conversation unless we want to be funny.
Yes.
It sounds funny and cute. So you can do it, but it's a little funny. So let's look at your question.
Means we can't use them in academic writing.
No, you shouldn't. It sounds really strange. It's really designed only for radio. And who uses the radio is military, police, security. So even if you use it in academic writing, it sounds out of place. Sounds like you're using it in the wrong situation. And it sounds funny. right? It sounds like you're making a joke, and you shouldn't do that in academic writing.
Yes.
Okay. Inclined to.
And inclined toward.
Okay, good. And we want to know what's the difference, right?
Yes, sir.
This is a great question that has a lot of different levels. One level is it's a metaphor. This is a figurative expression because incline means it's a physics or a geometry
Yes, sir.
idea,
Steep.
right? Yeah. So, for example, if I'm inclined, my body is on an angle to the board, which means
Yes,
I'm closer to the board. So we use this metaphorically to mean
Yes, sir.
closer to or prefer, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's go back to our triangle. The meaning is prefer. My heart is closer to one thing and far from another. So that's
Yes,
our
sir.
meaning. So let's check the meaning here. Inclined to, inclined towards. Do you think the meaning is similar?
I think so.
Yeah, I agree. I think the meaning is the same for both. So
Yes, sir.
now let's look at the form. Maybe the form is different.
Inclined and inclined. It's the same, I think.
It looks like it. One thing to remember, though, when we talk about grammar, not only is grammar working with form, meaning, and use together, it's also part of a sentence. Grammar is not alone, right? So sometimes the difference of form is where we can put it in the sentence and what comes before it and what can come after it.
After it, yes, sir.
Right? So this is the larger concept of syntax. Syntax is grammar, but it really means the relationship between words inside a sentence. Because remember, when we communicate to each other, we don't just walk up and say, Hossein, inclined to.
Yes, sir.
That has no meaning.
Yes, sir.
We use this inside a sentence.
Yes,
so
sir.
maybe the difference is what comes after it or what comes before it. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So let's look at it. I always like to go to a word and see if we can identify what kind of word it is. Is it a noun? Is it a verb? Is it an adjective? Because sometimes also the same word can be a noun or an adjective or something else.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So what kind of word do you think this is? Inclined.
Incline, I think so. It's adjective.
Yeah. Now it comes from a verb, right?
Yes,
but we use it the same way we might use married, right? Married comes from a verb, but we use it to describe a subject. So, for example, if we said, I am
inclined,
right? So now we have a subject and we have a verb, right?
Yes,
I am inclined. And this is basically the same structure as a passive, right? We have the be verb and we have the verb in past participle.
Yes,
now, if I say I am married, well, that word married is describing me. So you're right.
Yes, sir.
It's kind of working like an adjective.
Yes,
right?
sir.
It's functioning as an adjective, right?
Yes, sir.
But it's really part of this larger verb phrase.
Yes, sir.
What does that mean? Not much, because they're the same here, right?
Yes.
But together they are the verb. Let's look at the next part. What is this? What kind of word is that?
Toward.
Toward. Is it a noun?
Show direction.
Okay. Toward is what we call a preposition.
Preposition.
Right?
Okay.
Preposition. Now I'm going to use
preposition of place.
Yes. Now I'm going to use these terms. They're not that important, except we can talk about something because we both know it's a preposition.
Yes,
A
sir.
preposition, the important thing about a preposition is the job it does, its function. So a preposition
Yes, sir.
has one job. All prepositions have one job. That job
Yes,
is
sir.
they connect nouns. Prepositions,
Yes, sir.
they connect nouns.
Yes, sir.
That's the only thing they do. They connect nouns to all the other words. So
Yes, sir.
for example, if I say pen, that's a noun.
Yes, sir.
Cup, that's a noun.
That's a noun.
Now, what if I said, Hussein, pen cup? Pen cup.
Pen in the cup.
Good. So if I say pen cup, there's no meaning.
Yes, sir. Doesn't
We
making
don't-
any sense.
It doesn't make sense because we don't know the relationship between the nouns.
Between these both nouns. Yes, sir.
But if we say
I got it.
if we say pen in cup, it's not a full idea. It's not a sentence.
Making sense.
Good. We now know the relationship. They're not just
Yes,
two
sir.
nouns. One is in the other. So
Yes, sir.
prepositions connect nouns and show the relationships. So prepositions like in, on, above, below, towards, to, from, they all tell us relationships.
Yes.
So that's important to know.
Yes.
So now we have toward, right? Well, if we have am inclined and we have preposition toward, we need a noun because this preposition connects nouns.
Okay.
So that means the only thing that can come next is a noun.
Is noun. Is a noun. Okay.
Is a noun. So for example, I don't know if you can see it. I am inclined towards pizza.
Okay.
Pizza is a noun.
Yes, sir.
But there's other noun structures we can also use. For example, we can use a noun phrase, which is several nouns. So
Okay.
I'm inclined towards cars, I don't know if you can see that, but it says I'm inclined toward cars in races. So we have cars
Okay.
and races, two nouns. So that's a noun
Yes.
phrase.
Noun
And
phrase.
there's another form of noun-like word we can use, and that's called a gerund. Do you know gerund?
Yes, sir. Gerundive.
Yeah, so gerunds are very important words. What they are is they're verbs changed into a noun.
Yes,
and
sir.
the way we do that is add ing.
Yes, sir.
So for example, if you love to run, run is a
Running.
verb. But
Yes,
you
sir.
can
Run is
change-
verb. So its gerund will be running.
Yeah, good. And it's important to remember, it comes from a verb, but it's not a verb anymore. Now,
Yes, sir.
now it's a noun. The only time
Yes, sir.
the only time ing is a verb is with be verb. I am running. That's a
Yes,
verb.
sir.
You take
Yes,
away
sir.
the be verb, it's no longer a verb. Now it's a noun. And
Yes,
that's
sir.
great because if it's a noun, it can be the object of a sentence and it can be the subject.
Yes, sir.
We can say, I like running. We can also say, running is great. So
Yes, sir.
a gerund is like a noun. So look what we have here. We have toward, a preposition, and now it's
Yes, sir.
connecting to three different types of nouns. A simple noun, noun phrase,
Yes, sir. Noun phrase
or a
and
gerund.
gerund. Yes, sir.
So that's how we use. Now we have our use.
Yes, sir. Utilization.
Yes, that's how we use toward. We have to have a noun structure after it.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to the next sentence. I'm inclined to.
To.
Now,
Yes, sir.
preposition to is very important because it tells us movement. Any verb,
Yes, sir.
any verb with movement like go, fly, run, come, go, travel, those verbs have movement from one place to another. So whenever
Yes,
you have
sir.
a verb with movement in its meaning, you need to use to. So I went to the store. I graduated.
Yes,
I graduated from
from
university to
university.
my career, right? So verbs with
Yes, sir.
movement always need these prepositions. Here's
Sir,
the
can abstract noun fall in this category? For
usually,
example, thinking.
but here's the problem. To has two jobs. One job
Okay.
is to be a preposition with
Okay.
a movement verb. Okay.
Okay.
If your verb
Got it.
has movement or change in its meaning, you need prepositions from and to. Tomorrow
Okay.
I will travel from Canada to Pakistan.
To Pakistan.
For
Okay.
example, from and to, because of the verb travel.
Yes, sir.
But look at inclined. I am inclined. If this is acting like an adjective and we have a be verb, if I say I am Paul, I'm not changing. I'm not moving. There's no
Yes, sir.
movement in that verb.
Yes. Static.
Static verb.
Yes, sir.
So in this case, to is not a preposition anymore. To
Yes, sir.
is doing its other job, which is to be part of the infinitive verb. Infinitive verbs are very powerful. They tell us
Yes, sir.
reasons, they tell us ideas, they tell us a second verb, because only one verb in a sentence can have the tense. If you use another
Yes, sir.
verb, you need infinitive form. So what happens
Yes.
here, we don't use this as a preposition to connect a noun. Instead, it's part of the verb form.
Okay.
So now we have a different idea. I am inclined to run. Right?
Okay.
I am inclined toward running. Here we have
I
noun.
reply toward. Okay.
Right? So
Yes, sir.
what's the real difference? Well, there is a small difference in the idea. Here,
Okay.
you're communicating the idea that you prefer this thing.
Yes, sir.
And by the way, because it's a thing, a noun, it can be a pizza, it can be a study topic, it can also be a person. I'm inclined toward mom. I love my mom, my mother.
Yes,
That's a
sir.
person. I am inclined toward Yuka. Yuka is my wife. So
Yes, sir.
I'm inclined toward her. I prefer her.
Okay.
Right? So we have a
Right.
noun here. So you're expressing that you like that thing. Here,
Okay.
you're expressing the idea that you like that action. This
Okay.
is not a thing. This is an action.
This
So
is an action. Okay.
it communicates a little bit different idea to your listener.
Yes, sir.
So the meaning is quite similar, but we can see the grammar structure is different. It's about what comes after to or toward.
Okay.
To is a confusing word because it has two jobs, right? One is preposition, and one is part of the infinitive verb. So that's a
Yes,
very
sir.
confusing part. How to unconfuse it? Look at the verb. Is the verb static or moving? If it's
Okay.
a movement verb, then this is probably a noun.
Yes,
For
sir.
example, you could say, I am running to school,
School.
because the verb running is movement. So
Yes, sir.
I'm running from home to school.
School.
That's possible because the
Yes,
verb
sir.
would be different. But if you have a be verb, it's static.
Yes, sir.
So there's no movement, and that tells us that's not a preposition. That's part of the infinitive verb.
Okay.
Right?
Sir, can we use incline, or we have to use inclined?
Well, we can use incline, but then it's a verb. You could say,
Okay.
I incline to run. That's a bit strange because now
Okay.
it's a verb, and incline is a verb of movement,
Yes, sir.
right? So if it's moving and this is our preposition, then we need a noun here.
Okay.
I incline to pizza. That's what I do. It's my action. I incline to pizza. I prefer pizza. I usually choose pizza.
Okay.
If we do that here, I incline toward, again, we need a noun. So if we use this as the verb, it's a movement verb, so this preposition connects to nouns only.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, by the way?
Sir, what about inclination?
Well, inclination is a noun.
Inclination.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's expressing the same meaning, the same idea, but the form is very different. It's a noun. So you can say,
Okay.
I have an inclination towards pizza, towards running, towards mom, towards cars in races. But it's a noun. It becomes your object. I have an inclination. Oh, really? What kind? Right? It's a noun.
Okay. Okay, I got it.
Good. Let's look at another question.
Ma'am have commented toward with which words?
I have a question, Paul, and
Sure.
this is something that I've been confused about ever since I moved to Canada.
Oh, lovely.
I say towards, whereas I've heard the Canadians say toward, but I hear you saying towards.
Yeah.
So if you can briefly also comment on that, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
I think this is one of those words that has evolved over time as English spread around the world, initially from Britain, then to North America. And in Canada, our education system is largely influenced by the British system. We were a British colony, whereas the US has their own very specific and separate way of developing their English. So a lot of Canadians think American English sounds odd, sounds strange. Whereas even though British English has an accent, we understand its logic, we understand its grammar a little bit better. I think this is a debate. If you ask a British person, they will tell you this is better. If you ask an American, they'll tell you this is better. Canadians, we're stuck in the middle, right? We're influenced by the American way of speaking, but we're also influenced by the British education. So people will often say both are fine. Okay, if both are fine and we have a choice, how do we choose? I would say this. I would say consider what comes after it. This is a very hard sound toward d. This is a softer sound toward z. So I think this is often used for words that start with a vowel. I'm inclined towards outdoors. So now we have a nice movement from S to O. And it's just a pronunciation, it's just a sound issue, a sound choice. This hard sound makes a very hard ending to the word. So maybe people choose it when we have another consonant starting the word, toward the outdoors, or towards the, let's say, the movies. Or even if we want to take away the, we have a consonant sound here, movies, toward movies. In my experience, that tends to be the difference. I think they're both grammatically fine. I think it becomes a poetic choice, how it sounds to the ear, basically with the word that comes next, the sound that comes next. And sometimes if something sounds better, we just start using it like that. You'll notice in recent years, probably in my lifetime, especially with young people, we've started to use the word like a lot. I'm like really hot. Grammatically, that's really odd. It's really strange, but it sounds good. It makes the sentence smoother. So people use it. And I think this is an example of that too. I think grammatically, they both have equal communicative power, but I think it's poetic. It's a conventional usage depending on what comes next. Maybe it's similar to the word the. the two different pronunciations of this word, the and the, depends on what comes after. The door or the eggs. If you have a vowel, we say the eggs. If you have a consonant, we say the door. So that's just a smoother transition from this sound to this sound, because E sound has a clip to it. It has a little drop off that gets our voice ready for the next sound. I'm not really an expert in pronunciation, but these are the kind of things I have picked up about pronunciation. So I use both of these. I use them depending on what comes next. And I'm happy to do some more research on it and see if there's a deeper issue. But the last time someone asked me this question, I did check, and it seemed like one of those words that is stuck between American English and British English. And us poor Canadians are caught between these forces, which is okay because it means we can choose, which maybe suggests that as Canadians, we have a more versatile use of English. We have more flexibility because we have two influences. I think that's
great. That's great. I've also heard people say, I feel like a coffee.
I feel like, wow. I feel like a human being.
Yeah. So it's just like saying I like, or like when they keep repeating that. So when they say
right.
I feel like a coffee, is like what they're trying to say is I feel like having a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So again, it's something new. And I remember back in Dubai when I was teaching, this was something which we actually taught to the students as well, because they heard all these terms and they're like, what do you mean I feel like a coffee, or I feel like a pizza?
Yeah.
And they're like, is this how we're supposed to feel internally? And we're like, no, this is what you feel like having. So it's using the word I feel like having a cup of coffee, you can actually say I feel like a coffee.
Yeah. This is where conventional use becomes very powerful, because when we say the word coffee, we know there's only one thing we do with coffee. We drink it, we have it. So especially with speech, we want to be fast. We want to use less words, because when we're talking to our friends, we are sharing a context. So we share a lot of information and knowledge. So if I say, I feel like having a coffee, well, they know I'm having it. There's only one thing to do with it. So we can drop that word. We do this an awful lot in English. And I think it's natural. I think we do this in all languages, actually. We shorten things for speech because we share so much information. Another example is when you hear people say, I'll have, you go to the store or the cafe and you say, I'll have a bottle of water, right? I'll have a bottle of water. Well, if you go to the store and the water is in a bottle, of course it's in a bottle. If you say, I'll have water, they're not going to come and pour it on your head. That would be crazy. So we know it's coming in a bottle. But water is an uncountable noun. It's a substance, so we can't count it. So we need this helping word, bottle, because bottle can be countable. You can say, I'll have 3 bottles of water. Well, if the water is only possible in the bottle, why do we need to say it? So what we'll do is we'll drop the bottle, we'll drop the countable noun, and say, I'll have 3 waters. And we'll put the countable part on this noun, even though that's grammatically not correct. If I go to the cafe or the shop and say, I'll have 3 waters, they're not confused about how I want it delivered. Of course, it's coming in a bottle. They know that. I know that, they know it. I don't need to say it. So we drop that word. But if you're a language learner and your teacher says, water is uncountable, now it's confusing. So, in our speech, we do all these little adjustments. We cut words out if we share the knowledge. But that depends on someone knowing that context. So that can be very confusing for learners because they don't know that context. And it just becomes a way of saying it. I'll have 3 waters or 3 coffees. Coffee is also uncountable. We should say, I'll have 3 cups of coffee. But if you go to the cafe or Starbucks, there's only one way they're going to give you that coffee, in a cup. So you don't need to say it.
Yeah, I usually go to Timmy's and say, hey, can I have 2 sugars and 2 creams, please?
Right?
Yes.
There's no confusion about how it's delivered to you.
Yes. And we don't
Right.
really have to say, hey, I need coffee, because when you say 2 sugars and 2 creams, because it's Tim Hortons, it's only coffee, unless you specify that it's steep tea. So 2 sugars and 2 creams means a cup of coffee with 2 spoons of sugar. And is it 2 spoons of creams, or is it 2 spoons,
Yeah.
2 pumps of cream? That's what it means.
And nobody's confused.
And nobody's confused.
No. We
And I
share
thought-
that context.
Yes, and I've been on phone calls with, friends from back home, and they're like, why are you asking for cream and sugar? Like, oh, are you drinking it with water or what? I'm like, oh, this is how we order our coffee. Or I go in and say, hey, can I have a cream and milk? And they're like, is that what you're going to drink? I'm like, no, it's coffee with 1 cream, 1 milk. So it's hard. We have 2 more people here, Paul. Thank you so much. We have Jawad. Hi, Jawad. And hi, Faiz. How are you guys? Can you please unmute yourself?
Hi, gentlemen.
Yes, I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Faiz, can you please unmute yourself?
Unmute.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. I don't think I have seen you boys here
Hello.
before. So welcome to English Show Canada. This is Teacher Paul, and he's going to be answering all your grammar-related questions. So please introduce yourself, and then you can ask him the questions as well. Thank you. We'll start with Jawad.
Hi, Jawad.
Jawad is frozen, I think.
Oh,
All right,
yes.
Faiz, do you want to go ahead?
My name is Faiz
Hi.
Asif from Pakistan.
Hi there.
Go ahead.
Go
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
My name is Faiz Asif from Pakistan. Maha ma'am, I am a great fan of yours. I am watching all the videos, but backstage I can't join you because of my connectivity issue. Now I can join all your videos on YouTube
Thank you.
from now.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you have any questions for Paul?
I have some conversational issues because of this I joined this session. In past I joined a different session about for English in local areas, but I think it's opportunity for me to join English or Canada to better of my conversational skills.
Perfect. And do you want to ask any grammar-related questions? Anything related to grammar? I know your main area is communication, but then of course
Yes,
you need
ma'am.
to have the grammar as well to back up your communication. So is there anything specific you would like to ask?
Yes, I have a question that when we use had and have together, why we use had and have together in sentence? So what I am confused about it. So can we explain this issue?
Do you have an example, Faiz?
Had
A sentence?
sorry. Sometimes person says in sentence, I have this issue. So I don't understand why we use had and have together.
Okay. I think I get it now. This is
I've put up a sentence as well, Paul. I've had my
Yes.
dinner already.
great. Let's use that one.
Great, thank you.
Let me just get it centered. I also see an excellent question here I want to get to in a moment from Syed Hassan.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to come back to that in a minute because I think it can connect here. So this is a very important grammar called present perfect. And it's confusing because we have what seems to be the same verb twice, but different forms. But this verb, the second one, can be any verb. I have run. I have eaten. I have studied. This can be any verb. It's the main action. Okay? This one is part of the grammar structure. Okay? But this verb can change. It's not always had, but it can be. So what does it mean? Remember, we're coming back to this triangle idea of form, grammar structure, meaning, what's the idea, and use, how do we use it? Present perfect has a very special job to do. So let's look at the parts. And by the way, for those of you who don't know me, I host a web YouTube channel called Hard Boiled English. You can see that over here, I think. And on my channel, I have a video series called English Weirdness. And we explore these grammar problems really deeply with a little story. And we have a very special Halloween episode. It's kind of a scary movie that talks all about this. So if you'd like, I can send English O Canada the link to that video for a deeper exploration. But I'm going to try and simplify this so you can understand it very clearly. So this grammar is called present perfect. So that's the name of it. Who cares? That's teacher talk. But it has an idea inside it. Present is the time. It means right now, right? We are in the present. This is today, right now. What does perfect mean to you? Perfect, we often think means beautiful, right? Oh, my wife, she's the perfect woman for me. She's beautiful. Well, in grammar, perfect has a bit of a different meaning. Think of it as meaning finished or complete. So, for example, is that a perfect circle? No, it's not a perfect circle. It's not finished. Okay, so that's not a perfect circle either. I'm not an artist, but it's more perfect, right? It's more complete. Now, at least it's a circle. So I want you to think about this. When we talk about perfect in grammar, it really means finished or complete, which means it means the past. Because the present is not finished. We're still having the present. But the past is finished. It's complete. That circle is in the past. So that gives us some idea here. This grammar's name is called present perfect, which really means present past. Okay? That'll tell us the verb form we need. Look closely. Present. The word have. It's in present tense. I have a pen in my hand, right? I have a pen in my hand. Perfect, which means past. We have this verb in past participle form. Had means not have a pen, but in the past, I had a pen. I don't have a pen now. Okay? So this verb is in the past form. And it could be any verb. I have eaten my breakfast. That's in the past. That action of eating is in the past. Okay? Studied in the past. Now I teach. I don't study. Not much. A little bit. Okay, so now we have a mixture. This verb is a combination. It's a combination of the present and the past. That's what the meaning is. So if we make a timeline, this will help us understand it.
Yes, sir.
In a timeline, when we talk about verbs and verb tense, tense is related to the time of the action. So if we look at a timeline here and we say that this is the present, can everyone see that? So if this line is the present, and then this is the continuum, sorry, I'm not a great artist, from the past into the future, what does our grammar tell us? It tells us, right now, I have something, and we have a past action somewhere in the past. And it can be any action you choose, eaten, studied, etc.
Ma'am, can you enlarge the screen of Sir Paul? I can't see it clearly. Yes, now
Okay.
it's good. Okay.
So we have our verb have in the present, right? Present, right now. We have the action, whatever your action you want to communicate. I had dinner, I ate dinner, eaten dinner, studied, whatever the action is in the past, it's in the past. So now graphically on the timeline, we can see the two parts. We can see the past action and the present. So we have two parts, two verbs, two parts. But this grammar, Faiz, and this is the important part, this grammar communicates both parts together. It communicates their relationship, right?
Yes, sir.
I am Paul. My wife's name is Yuka. We are two separate parts, but we're married, so we have a relationship between two parts, right?
Yeah.
So this grammar lets us communicate the relationship between the past and the present. We could say we can talk about the past separately, and we can talk about the present separately. I can say, I am standing. I am talking to you. Yesterday, I studied. That's past. This grammar has a special ability to communicate a meaning that combines both. Okay, why do you want to do that? If we combine them, let's make a little line that combines them. What does that do for our meaning? What does that express? It expresses that there is a connection between the past and the present. And if we look around our life, we can see this relationship because we know that things that happen in the past affect our present. We know that, we all know that things that happened in history continue to affect us today, right? My ancestors came from England hundreds of years ago. They came from England on boats and came to Canada. So their past actions affects me today, right? I studied English in my past. Does it have an effect on me today? Of course it does. It allows me to be a teacher. I have studied English. I studied in the past, but today I still have that effect. And this is cool. This allows us to express experiences, things that happened in the past that still affect us, right? I have studied English. I have graduated from university. I have had dinner. I had dinner in the past, that's my action, but it still affects me because now I'm full. It means I don't need dinner now. So if you say, hey, Paul, now, do you want to go for dinner? I'll say, oh, no, thank you. I have had dinner already. I don't need it now. My past action of eating, of having dinner, affects me now because now I'm full. I'm still affected. My stomach is affected, right? This is great because now we can express things we did in the past that affect us today. We can communicate the relationship between past things and now. So for example, if I want to tell you about my experience, I have visited Japan. You don't care when. I'm just telling you that that's my experience. Now, I visited Japan in the past. And you might say, how does it affect you now? You're not speaking Japanese, you're speaking English. What's the effect? I visited Japan in the past, but today it continues to affect me. Look closely. I have visited Japan. So if I say visited in the past, you might say, yeah, okay, teacher, you visited in the past. How does it affect the present? How can I say you have visited? Think about this, guys. I have the experience today. My actions in the past, but today I still carry that experience. Like I carry this pen. I have this pen, but I also have my experience. Do you know where I have it? It's not in my hand. It's not in my pocket. I have this experience in my memory today. I can imagine and remember my past actions. I have them today. So if you have visited a place, the actions in the past, but your memory, you have this memory right now. So we can see the past does have a relationship to the present. They're connected, and a lot of times they're connected. My past action is still with me. I still have it. I have it in my memory, right? So when we say have had, it sounds like two of the verbs the same thing, but I want you to understand that the second verb could be any verb. In this case, we say, I had dinner already. I had dinner in the past. So it affects me right now. That's what I'm trying to communicate. I'm trying to tell you the effect of my past dinner on my present. And the effect is, I don't need dinner now. I'm still full. If I have dinner now, either I'll be sick or I'm just going to get big. Does that answer your question, Faiz?
Sorry, I put them
Sure.
off screen only because we wanted to get a fuller.
Okay, sure. No problem.
Great. Can I also just add something here, and please
Yeah.
correct me. You know the timeline that you've drawn. What I do is I extend it beyond future and then write the word death.
Past here?
Yes, and I write here death. So just to give them an idea, so as long as you're alive, the have had can actually continue beyond.
That's right.
Yeah.
This timeline, the vertical timeline of now, present, can change. We can turn this into the future. We can push this into the future with words like will. Will have had means not now, but in the future sometime. Let's push that. So in some future now, it will be true that I will have had dinner. Not now, but in the future. So we can keep extending this all the way to the end, to death, for sure.
Yeah. So I tell them that
Ma'am-
even if you're 90 years old, you can still use have had for things
Absolutely.
that you've done. Again, timeline. Sometimes I also break the timeline into shorter timelines of the day.
Yeah.
Part of the day. So let's say morning, afternoon, and evening. And then I also break them into days, weeks, months. So for instance,
Absolutely.
let's say I have watched a movie, right?
Yeah.
This week. And I had watched a movie last week.
Yeah.
So the weekly, or the time words, basically, just to add on, of course.
Yeah, and I think the students are often getting confused with have had or just had. Now, if we use simple past can only be used if we know or you say the time. Because simple past communicates a single action that started and finished in the past. No connection to now, no relationship. So we need to know the time. So if I told you, hi everybody, I had dinner. You're like, so? Or your question would be, when? Because that's communicating a specific action at a specific time. So I need to know when. So yesterday, or at 10 a.m. We need a time, or last week, or last year. If we're going to use simple past, right? I ate dinner, I had dinner, any verb, we need to know the time. We need to say it, or the other person needs to already know it. And we can share the time. That's why oftentimes we say, hey, did you have breakfast? Basically, because everybody eats breakfast at the same time. We know the morning. If you don't know the time, or it's not important, you can't really say that. If you don't know the time, you really have to use present perfect. I've had dinner. Oh, really good. I'm happy. We don't care when it happened. You're expressing that because of the past action, you have a current state of being full. So it's not related to when it happened. It's the fact that it did happen, and it has a result or effect on the present. So this is a big difference of what it communicates.
But I cannot. So, for instance, right now it is at Toronto time. It's 2 p.m. Because the dinner that I had was yesterday, last night. So today, right now, I cannot say I've had dinner.
It would be confusing. You're right.
Because the day is ended already.
Yeah, we've started a new day, and everybody kind of shares this knowledge of breakfast, lunch, dinner sequence. Most people, assuming they can afford to eat regularly, follow that pattern. Some old folks like me actually don't have breakfast because I'm worried about gaining too much weight. However, it's a very common context that we all share. So it would be clear if you talked about breakfast, but if you talk today about dinner, it would be strange, right? Because dinner is not until later, or you'd be referring to yesterday's dinner.
Great. Teacher Paul, you've been here for an hour and 16 minutes.
Okay.
I'm sure you're tired.
That's quite all right.
I didn't realize that we'd gone over an hour. I really apologize. Do you think?
I'm happy to be here.
Guys, do you have any more questions? Hussein?
What are
Yes, ma'am.
questions?
Yes.
But before that, let me just go back because I can answer. I think it was
Sayed?
Zayed's question.
Yes.
I can answer that one really quickly
Sure.
because I think he joined a little bit after I explained something that would clarify that. Can you find that question? Let me just scroll up.
It's on the screen. It's on the screen. It says, what role, like to hear or sounds better to the ear, plays in grammar, and does it hurt the grammar?
Right. So this is what I was explaining earlier about sometimes we choose just the better sounding. So maybe he missed this explanation of the triangle I was referring to. So when we talk about language, we're talking about three elements that work together. They're always working together. They interact. So we talk about form, which is grammar, sentence structure, the rules of how we make this language. And that could be different than another language. We also talk about the meaning. Okay? What meaning or idea is being communicated or you're trying to communicate. And then we also talk about the use. How do we use this? And in what context, what situation do I use this? And how do I say it? So this is, for example, we use sentence examples. We've been doing this. In fact, for the last hour and 16 minutes, I've been using all these things together. I've been showing you timelines. So that's explaining the meaning, the time meaning. I've been showing you sentence examples, which is the use. We've also been talking about the parts, prepositions and present perfect and the form, the structure of how these words work together. But they're always working together, interacting. And sometimes you might compare two ideas that have the same meaning, but different forms, or same form, but different meanings. You might have two adverbs that have different meanings or used differently. So your question is related to this. When I said it sounds better, so we choose that, that's because in that example, we had two expressions with the same form, right? They were both prepositions or they were both adverbs. And in both cases, the meanings were the same. But the uses were different. We have, let's call it A and B. I was talking about how you might choose one because the next word might be a vowel sound or consonant sound. So that's related to the way we use it. And does it have an effect on the grammar and meaning? In those examples, no, because we found that the form was the same and the meaning was the same. So these are not changed by the choice based on sound or poetics. So in this example, if those are the same and those are the same, then A or B is communicating the same meaning, and it's doing the same job in the sentence. It has the same function or grammar rule. So I'm choosing it. I'm choosing use based on the sound. And this is often called convention. And a convention just means this is what everyone agrees to say. So a whole society or a whole language culture will say that expression. So Canada has certain English conventions. The USA has certain English conventions. Great Britain has certain language conventions. Australia, New Zealand, they're all a little different because they all agree that this expression means this, or this expression means this. So your question is, does it hurt the grammar? No, because the grammar is the same. When we looked at toward and towards, the grammar is the same. It's both prepositional, and the meaning is the same. So we can choose the use simply based on sound and poetics. That's not always the case, though, right? It's not always going to work like that.
Great explanation. Thank you so much. You definitely are the grammar guru.
Do we have time for one more question?
Sure.
Who's got a nice...
If you want to go on, I have no problems. I just want to be respectful of your time as well.
Oh, quite all right.
Yes, I have no issues. I can go on
Okay.
for, some more time. I'm not going to say how much, but then again, I just want to make sure that I respect the time. And
Well, I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
How about
Hussein,
another 30 minutes?
yes. Hussein, Faiz, any more questions from you?
Ma'am, as in our previous conversation, we were talking about the root form of words. We said decide to decision, and then decisive, and then indecisive. Does they affect the grammar or not? Hopefully, they affect the grammar. So how could we figure out that?
Are you talking about prefixes, Hussein, like in, re?
No, the root words.
Yeah.
So the base
So,
word.
for example, decision is brought from decide, and we could make decisive from decisions, and
Right.
then we put prefix indecisive, like
Yeah.
decisive opinion,
Okay.
decisive shopping. So how could we know these relations between the words?
Great question. Let's look at it this way, and the explanation is kind of simple and not a grammar explanation. And the way to solve the problem, maybe you won't like the answer, but I'll bring it to you. So we have roots, or sometimes we call them stems. We have prefixes, little parts that come at the beginning, and we have suffixes. And they change the meaning and they change the grammar. Generally, suffixes change the grammar. They change it from a word, they change it from noun to adjective, to verb, to adverb, etc. It changes the form. Generally, the prefix is related to meaning, often positive or negative meaning, right? Changes the meaning a little bit. The stem is really the big meaning. Okay? That's basically how words are composed. Now, they don't always have a prefix, so the word might start with the stem and finish with the suffix. Likewise, they may not have a suffix. They may just be a prefix and a stem. And of course, sometimes they're just stems. Now, if you can learn these parts, if you can learn the prefixes and the meanings, and you can learn suffixes and meanings, and you can learn stems, it's a very powerful tool. Because you can look at a new word and you can understand the meaning without looking in the dictionary. So because I'm a native speaker and I've studied English my whole life, and because I'm a teacher and I've studied this a bit closely, I know most of the suffixes, and I know most of the prefixes, and I know a lot of stems. So when I'm reading something and I see a new word, oftentimes I can guess the meaning of it without looking at the dictionary, because I know what these mean. I know what those mean. So there's lots of them, so we can't go through all of them. But for example, if a word ends with this, it's usually a verb, right? Let's think of an example like procrastinate. Students often procrastinate. They wait until the end. I think you mentioned this earlier, T-I-O-N, inclination, usually a noun ending. So if you can see that, you know the word form is a noun. We heard the word earlier, affirmative. So if we have AF, it usually means positive, right? And then we have a whole series of prefixes that mean negative. We have indecisive. It means not decisive. We have unreal, which means not real. Oh my God, that movie was unreal, right? We have I am, which also is negative, like immature, not mature. That young man is immature. He's not mature. There's more. Well, let's keep it that. And this is very confusing. Teacher, why do we have 3 different negative prefixes? It can be very confusing. Here's the reason why. English is not a pure language. There was no time in history where the King of England said, "Make me a language, Mr. Professor. Design me a language to work perfectly." That's not how English started. I don't know the history of your languages, but for example, the Korean language was designed. There was a point in Korean history when all the poor people couldn't speak or read or write, and the king wanted his society to be educated. So he told one of his scholars, his professors, "Make me a new language." And he sat down for months and designed the Korean language to be very simple, have consistent rules, and easy to learn. So all the poor people could learn it. And the modern Korean language is like that. It's very clear. English is not. English is not a pure language. It's the result of years of conquest. So I'm going to have to draw a little map here for a quick history lesson, but I think it'll explain this. So here's the English island, and here's Europe. Through England's history, they had a whole bunch of different people invade England with their new languages. So there were the Normans from northern France. There were the Saxons from a part of Germany. There was Germans. There were the Celts from Ireland. And of course, there were the Romans. And the Romans were the most, they had the biggest impact on English because they brought their language Latin. Okay? And over time, all of these languages mixed into English. And that's why we have a lot of different rules mixed together, which is one reason why English is confusing and hard to learn, because of the influence of other languages. Now, what does that do for our word structure? Well, I'll show you. Just look at these different prefixes. They all come from different countries, from different languages. I may be wrong, but this is from German. This is from France, French. And this, I believe, is also from France, French. So we have 3 or 4 different prefixes from different languages, and we still use them. And the meaning is all the same. It means not. However, the stem words are almost all of them from Latin. Most of the stem words come from the Roman influence, right? From stem words. And Latin language also affected other languages, like because of the Romans' conquest. So Latin is the basic part of English, French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese. So if you're a student from those countries, a lot of your vocabulary is very similar to English. So they have a little advantage in the fact that they can see these words and get the idea. The prefix might be different, the suffix might be different, but the stem word is basically Latin. And it's the same for French, Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese. So how do you learn this stuff? Well, there are some good books. Let me just see if I've got one. Before the virus hit, I worked at a school called ELS Language Center, and we have these kind of vocabulary books. And I'll try to find a website that does a similar thing. But what they do is they have lists of stem words that are very common and the meanings. So for example, let's look at a word like a stem word like graph. Graph. That stem word means, believe it or not, it means writing or to write. Yeah, stem words, root words, base words, it's the same idea. Yes. So if this means graph, then the other parts can change the bigger meaning. I'll give you some examples. Maybe you know this word. Photo. Photograph. And photo means light. So our idea here is writing with light, making pictures. Maybe you've heard of this, although this is a very old word, phonograph, which is a record player that plays music. Phono means sound. So this is writing with sound. Now that seems weird in our generation with digital technology, but when photographs first appeared a couple of hundred years ago, they thought it was like a magic, like they're writing stories with light. Typograph, using letters. I think typo means alphabet. So if you want to learn how to examine the word like that, we need to get a list like this, where you can see the stem and the meaning. And in this book also, we have lists of prefixes. Prefix, for example, mono means one. Mono means one. So when you have that part with this part, it has a new meaning. And this book has suffixes. So the dictionary also has some information about this, but I would find a book like this, or I can see if I can get you guys a copy of this. So here's the answer I think many students don't like. How can you learn this? Oh yeah, so there's a good example, monologue. Mono means one, and log means speech. So this is one speech, one speaker, a person who speaks one communication. Dialogue, the prefix di means two. Dialogue, so two speakers. So yeah, if you want to learn this, there's really kind of only one way. You've got to study. You've got to study a chart like that. You've got to study the dictionary. There's no substitute for that, really.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes when we're learning a language, we certainly learn a lot when we chat with our friends. We certainly learn a lot when we listen to a teacher, but we've also got to study. We've got to learn words. You know, when I was a kid, my father gave me a gigantic dictionary, and he said, read that. he said, read one word every day before you go to bed. He actually told me, take your dictionary to the washroom. So every day,
Wow.
when you go to the toilet, learn one word. So of course, when you're in the toilet, you have some few minutes, you read more than one word.
Yes, sir.
You know, dictionary is very powerful. And I always recommend students get a dictionary and learn some words.
Yes, sir.
You know, sometimes we use our phone. We use our phone to check a dictionary, and that's good, but you only see one word. If you actually look at a book dictionary and look for the word's meaning, you're also looking at a whole bunch of other words.
Yes, sir.
So you can actually learn a lot more. But this is a very powerful tool, this kind of word part. Call this word parts. I'll try to find you guys one and get it to you. And then you just got to study it. You just got to learn what those parts mean. Learn the different parts and their meaning, so you can put them together and understand and make new words and larger meanings. Right?
Yes, sir.
Did that answer your question, Hussein?
No, sir. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
So,
maybe, yeah.
did that answer your question or not? Hi, I decided to show my face. Great. Thank you so much, Teacher Paul, for taking the
You're
time,
welcome.
so much time to come here and answer all the questions. Not all, I'm sure they have tons of questions. We've had a couple of questions in the comments as well. But because your explanations were so much in detail that it was hard to go over all of them. And yes. I hope you enjoyed your session over
exactly, ma'am.
Yes,
can we save
really
some questions for a future session?
Sure. So what we can do is I do a live almost every day, if not every day. And then I'm going to keep asking them to note down their questions. And then you and I can decide on schedule, another time when you can come down, so you can have, you can have the set of questions already, knowing that. Okay. And you've been amazing at just answering the questions. If I were ever put in that spot of answering those questions, I would like, hang on a minute, let me just think, only because I never really studied the grammar. You have. I haven't been a detective. So I only learned grammar when I was learning how to teach English as a second language, and that was about it. But yes, we can definitely have a list of questions. What we can also do is probably, when you and I sit down and discuss this after the class, is maybe we can pick up topics. And so based on those, then we can also expand on the live sessions.
Okay.
Right. Hussein, do you want to say something?
No, ma'am. I just want to say thanks to sir.
You're most welcome. Pleasure to meet you all. Very happy to be here.
You too, sir. Nice to meet you, sir.
Farouk?
Hi, Farouk.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine. My English is not good.
Sounds good to me.
Very poor English.
Well, you know what? You're lucky because you can speak more than 2 languages. Right?
But I understand some.
That's good. You sound good. Your English sounds good.
Yeah, some English I understand.
Can I make one final mention? If you're interested in learning more deeply about some of these grammar items, please check out my YouTube channel. Where is it? Hard-Boiled English on YouTube. We have lots of videos and more coming. And they're entertaining videos, little dramas, little stories that help us understand the grammar ideas better. There's animation, there's conversation. Yeah, YouTube Hard-Boiled English. Please visit, check out our videos. I make these videos with my students. Me and all the people in those videos that are acting, using the camera, everyone is a student. So it's not Hollywood, but they've done a great job, and I'm very proud of their efforts. So I want to share their work with as many people as possible. So go to YouTube, check out Hardboiled English, check out English Weirdness. That's our main series. English Weirdness is the series we've been doing for 2 years. Very proud of it. Subscribe to the channel, please, and you'll get all the new videos. And please share it with your friends. I'm not trying to make money from something like this. My dream is to help other people with English. That's my whole motivation for doing this. And I really love meeting students and helping them understand these mysteries a little bit better. So please share this with your friends. And I look forward to seeing you in a future session. We'll work on the schedule. Yeah, that's it, exactly. I'd be very honored if you checked out our YouTube channel. And please share it with all your friends. Your part of the world, actually, most of my students that I work with in Canada, in Vancouver, most of my students come from East Asia, so Korea, Japan, China, Taiwan, Thailand, and South America, Brazil, Colombia. So I'm very excited to meet guys from Pakistan. Where else are we from here? Do we have some Saudi Arabians?
No. We've had a couple of Indians. We do get a couple of people from Bangladesh.
Very nice.
We get people from a few from Dubai as well. My previous students, but they don't come online. But I've had people from Dubai join as well. My reach is mainly the Southeast Asia.
Yeah, it's so great.
Yes.
And this is an area that I have not worked with a lot, so it's very exciting and very, very much a nice honor to meet you and to help you if I can.
Great. Thank you so much. Faiz, would you like to say something before we log off for today?
Ma'am, I just want to add something about the next section. Next session, please add the topic about contraction. When we use in English, contraction in English, so many students are confused about this topic. What contraction? How can we use contraction in conversational English? When I was studying with my teachers always told me that less focus on grammar. So what the percentage of grammar is important to in conversational speaking? So kindly explain.
Okay, should we talk about that next time?
Yes,
because it will take some time. So contractions is something that we'll look into, definitely.
Sure.
And then I'm sure Hussein is also going to have tons of questions. Sayed Hassan Abrar Abidi lives in Los Angeles, and I'm sure he's going to have tons of questions as well. So we do have people in America watching us. And I'm sure
lovely.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. So we say inshallah, that means that translates into God willingly.
Yep.
So anything that we do, we being Muslims, anything we do, we say inshallah, right? If God willingly, yes, things will go forward. So if you hear that word a lot, please don't be surprised. But that's something that we use very commonly, like a lot of people use like.
And does it only refer to things for the future, like let's meet next time, inshallah?
Yes.
So because we don't know the future, right? This is God's future, not ours.
Yes. So even the near future, like I'm going to have dinner in a while, inshallah, if God willingly.
Yeah.
Right?
Because we never know the future, right? We don't know. We don't have control over it.
That's right.
It's
Great.
It's a very beautiful idea.
Yes. So thank you so much, Tisha Paul, for being here. Guys, the ones who are watching, please, I have been requesting you for the last almost a week and a half. Hardboiled English on YouTube, Hardboiled English on Facebook. Please go like and subscribe and support anyone and everyone, especially Teacher Paul, who is providing you with the education that you need. This education costs a lot of money. If you were to go to a class, and get this information, you're looking at $30 an hour for this. You've had 2 hours almost free of cost. So the only thing I would request you all to do is please support people who are giving you what you could be paying for elsewhere. So just press on subscribe, the bell icon, like and follow and share, not just one person, but share it with your friends, with your family. Because we all believe in spreading education, spreading
Yeah.
knowledge, and it is our duty as humans to spread the goodness in this crazy world of Corona these days.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so thanks everybody for watching, and we will come back. I will announce this on my English Show Canada page once we've scheduled the time. I really hope that you enjoyed yourself. Teacher Paul, thank you so much for the
Fabulous.
extra time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, see you guys.
Nice to meet you, gentlemen.
See you guys next session. Take
Thanks,
care.
sir.
Bye
Okay.
for now.
Allah Hafiz.
Bye-bye.
Allah